Remember a time when cassette tapes ruled? Arcades were kingdoms and neon fashion lit up every street corner? The 1980s left behind a world of iconic trends and forgotten treasures that shaped the 1990s in ways you never realized. But what if the things we've completely forgotten were actually the building blocks of the culture we live in today? The 1980s were full of color, sound, and energy that feels almost magical now. Streets were lined with neon lights that flickered like tiny fireworks, and the air always smelled faintly of popcorn, fresh vinyl, and the rubber soles of sneakers. If you walked down any city block or suburban street, you could hear the distant hum of arcade machines, the tinny music from boomboxes, and the click of keyboards from early home computers. These were the sounds of a world that was moving fast, yet still tangible in a way we barely remember today. Number 1. The early home computers. Machines like the Commodore 64 and the Apple II were not just toys. They were windows into a digital universe that kids explored with wide eyes and sticky fingers. The screen glowed with green or amber letters, and every keystroke felt powerful. Children typed lines of basic code and watched tiny characters jump across the screen. They were learning to create, to imagine, and to touch the future with their own hands. The smell of plastic keys, the slight heat from the monitors, and the soft whir of disk drives made it feel alive. Number 2. Payphones. Before everyone had a cell phone in their pocket, you needed coins to call someone far away. There was a clink and a thrum when you dropped a quarter in. Kids would memorize which payphones worked best, which ones were broken, and which ones might have a long line of strangers waiting. Each call was a small adventure, filled with anticipation and sometimes a little fear of strangers listening in. Number 3. Boombox culture. Imagine carrying a stereo as big as a small suitcase on your shoulder. The music blasted down the street, making everyone stop and notice. Hip-hop, pop, and rock collided in sounds that made people dance wherever they were. Buttons clicked, tape decks opened with a snap, and the bass made the ground vibrate under your feet. It was noisy, it was bold, and it was unforgettable. Number 4. VHS rental stores. The smell of plastic sleeves and the faint scent of popcorn filled the air. Kids and parents walked the aisles, searching for movies to take home. Renting a tape was an event. You waited for the movie to rewind, carefully inserted it into the player, and pressed play. The room would darken, the TV screen would glow, and suddenly you were somewhere else entirely. Number 5. Neon fashion. Bright, almost glowing colors covered shirts, shoes, and jackets. Spandex stretched and bounced with every movement, while leg warmers hugged calves and platform shoes clicked loudly on the floor. Wearing these clothes made you feel alive, bold, and part of something new. Every outfit was a statement, and everyone noticed. Number 6. Arcade halls. The blip of Pac-Man, the ding of pinball, and the hum of machines filled rooms. Floors were sticky from spilled soda and candy, but no one cared. Kids competed for high scores, cheered each other on, and sometimes argued over who got the next turn. Every coin was precious. Every level cleared felt like winning a medal. Number 7. Cassette mixtapes. You had to record songs from the radio at exactly the right time, pressing record and play together. The tape hissed and clicked. Labels were handwritten in marker. Each tape was personal. Each one told a story. Number 8. MTV. Music was no longer just something you listened to. It was something you watched. Videos told stories, showed fashion, and made stars bigger than life. The channel was fast, colorful, and full of energy. Watching MTV felt like being part of a global party. Number 9. Walkmans. Small and portable, they let you take your music anywhere. The click of the play button, the soft whir of the tape, and the feel of headphones covering your ears made music personal. You could walk down the street and carry your own world with you. Number 10. Roller rinks. Wheels rolled on polished wood, music played loud, and lights spun in colors you could almost taste. Teenagers glided, twirled, and laughed. It was a place for friends, for showing off, for being free. These 10 things shaped the lives of millions. They were small, bright, and full of life. They made ordinary days magical. Today they are mostly gone, replaced by screens, apps, and digital voices. But remembering them is like stepping into a world full of noise, color, and wonder. A world that built the foundation for everything that came next. The 1990s arrived with a roar. The world felt bigger, faster, and brighter than ever before. Streets were crowded with kids carrying slouchy backpacks, neon sneakers, and handheld gaming devices. The air buzzed with new sounds, new music, and new technology that made everything feel exciting and fresh. It was a decade that promised change. And everywhere you looked, people were trying to catch up. Technology in the 90s felt magical. Early cell phones were heavy and square, with little green screens and antennas that poked out like tiny swords. Teens and adults alike carried them proudly, walking down the street feeling like they held the world in their hands. Meanwhile, video game consoles ruled bedrooms. The Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and Game Boy gave kids secret worlds to explore. Each button press, each jump, each coin collected made players feel powerful. The sound of 16-bit music filled rooms with a strange, happy energy. It was a time when a game could make you laugh, cheer, or cry in the span of 5 minutes. Entertainment exploded everywhere. Television shows were more than just stories. They were events. Families and friends gathered to watch sitcoms like Friends, Full House, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The jokes were funny, the lessons were simple, and the characters felt like neighbors or cousins. On the big screen, blockbusters like Jurassic Park, Independence Day, and Titanic filled theaters with crowds that gasped, laughed, and held hands. Music poured out of radios, cassette players, and boomboxes. Grunge, pop, hip-hop, and boy bands battled for the top spots, creating soundtracks that followed every teenager through school halls, malls, and backyards. Youth culture was alive and loud. Malls became kingdoms where teenagers wandered in groups, laughing and buying the latest trends. Stores smelled of perfume, leather, and popcorn, and neon signs flashed advertisements for the newest shoes, clothes, and music. Teen magazines offered advice, gossip, and instructions on how to dress, talk, and act. Baggy jeans, platform shoes, and flannel shirts were badges of identity. Each outfit said something about the person wearing it, and every choice mattered. Hanging out at the mall or the arcade was not just fun. It was a way to belong, a way to be seen, and a way to be remembered. Media evolved faster than anyone could imagine. Cable television grew from a handful of channels to hundreds. Music videos, cartoons, and news programs gave viewers access to stories from all over the world. MTV continued to shape the sound and look of the decade. Every video premiere felt like a mini event, with teens stopping their homework, pausing conversations, and staring at the screen. The pace of media made the world feel closer, louder, and more immediate than ever before. Even simple objects carried meaning. Tamagotchis beeped from pockets, requiring constant attention. Beepers chirped with messages that made hearts race. Video rental stores still held magic, but now blockbusters competed with the latest cable premieres. Skateboards, rollerblades, and bicycles became ways to race, show off, and explore neighborhoods. Every street corner felt like an adventure waiting to happen. Pop culture in the 90s was full of contrasts. Kids wore neon and flannel, listened to grunge and pop, watched sitcoms and horror movies, played video games and sports. Every choice reflected personality and identity, creating a sense of belonging while also highlighting individuality. The decade encouraged people to experiment, to try new things, and to share experiences with friends. The energy was fast, sometimes chaotic, but always thrilling. Looking back, the 1990s were about connection. Technology, entertainment, and youth culture worked together to create a world where everyone could find a place. Every console, every magazine, every mall visit, and music video added a layer to the decade's identity. It was a world built for exploring, laughing, learning, and growing. Every day felt full of possibilities, as if the world itself was stretching, waiting for everyone to catch up. The peak of 1990s culture was not just a collection of trends or gadgets. It was an experience, a feeling of being alive in a time that was changing faster than anyone could imagine. Every song, joke, fashion choice, and new technology carried excitement and tension, signaling a world that was moving towards something bigger. For those who lived through it, the 1990s were unforgettable. A bridge between the past and the future, a time when culture, youth, and technology collided in a bright, messy, thrilling explosion. By the mid to late 1990s, the world felt electric. Screens glowed in bedrooms, living rooms, and classrooms. The faint, high-pitched sound of dial-up modems announced that something new was arriving, a world no one had fully seen before. People leaned close to their monitors, waiting for websites to load, their hearts racing with curiosity. The internet felt like a secret doorway to everything, a place where imagination could grow faster than anyone could keep up. The internet revolution changed everything. Chat rooms appeared, filled with strangers who felt like friends, their words glowing in green, blue, and gray boxes. Teens and adults typed carefully, crafting screen names that revealed personality or mystery. Conversations happened in bursts of excitement, punctuated by the occasional LOL or emoticon that made emotions digital. Email became a lifeline. Letters that once took days now arrived in seconds. The world was suddenly smaller, but louder, with ideas, jokes, and stories traveling faster than ever before. Digital entertainment began to bloom. MP3s shrank music into small files that could fit on clunky computers. Napster let people share songs, a thrill tinged with rebellion. Movie trailers leaked online, and clips could be watched without leaving home. Video games grew more complex, connecting players across cities, states, even countries. Every download, every click, carried a sense of wonder, a promise that something amazing was just a few more keystrokes away. Communication exploded in ways the 1980s and early 1990s could not have imagined. Instant messaging brought a rush of words on screens, punctuated by the soft ding of a new message. Friends could talk all day without speaking out loud. Relationships changed, becoming faster, more playful, and sometimes more complicated. The first social platforms began to emerge. Small websites where people could post a picture, a thought, or a secret, hinting at the ways social media would dominate decades later. The late 1990s carried an undercurrent of anticipation. Year's 2K loomed large. People worried that computers would fail when the year changed to 2000. Grocery stores stocked up on canned food. Families discussed what would happen if the lights went out. There was fear, yes, but also excitement. Something big was coming. Something the world had never seen. The tension was electric, buzzing in classrooms, offices, and homes alike. Technology touched everyday life in ways that felt both thrilling and strange. Phones grew smaller and faster. Laptops began to appear, heavy and boxy, yet portable enough to sit on a kitchen table or school desk. Digital cameras replaced film in small steps, letting people see their images instantly. Even toys became smarter, blending electronics with play. Every innovation hinted at the future, but in the moment it felt like magic. Music and culture also shifted digitally. MP3s let people carry hundreds of songs on a single device, removing the need for tapes or CDs. Fans could discover artists from halfway across the world. Online communities formed around genres, favorite bands, and shared experiences. Music videos, once exclusive to MTV, found new life online. People could replay a clip, pause it, and watch it over and over. This new power made music more personal, more immediate, and more alive. The anticipation of the millennium added to the excitement. Kids and teens stayed up late watching fireworks on TV, imagining what life would be like in the year 2000. There was hope and fear mixed together. The 1990s were ending, but something bigger, something digital and invisible, was just beginning. The world felt ready to leap forward, to leave behind the past and enter a new era filled with possibility. By the end of the decade, the internet had begun to touch nearly every part of life. People were learning, connecting, and experimenting at a speed that felt dizzying. Music, movies, games, and communication blended together in ways that were impossible a few years earlier. Every beep, click, and dial-up noise carried energy, a sense that the world was changing forever. The late 1990s were not just about new technology. They were about excitement, fear, and the thrill of stepping into something unknown. The digital revolution promised to change how people lived, worked, and played. And for those who experienced it, every screen glow, every new sound, and every instant message was a reminder that the world was moving fast, and the future was already here, waiting to be discovered. Looking back, the 1990s were more than just a collection of trends, gadgets, and songs. They were a time when the world changed in ways that are still visible today. Streets, homes, and schools were full of sounds and colors that shaped a generation. Kids grew up learning how to balance technology and play, connection and imagination. Every beep, every screen glow, every cassette click left a mark on how people thought, worked, and lived. Technology from the 1990s laid the foundation for our modern world. Early home computers taught people to create, code, and explore. Cell phones, though heavy and simple, began a habit of staying connected that would later become constant. The internet showed the first glimpses of a global community, making communication faster, more immediate, and more personal. The tools of the decade were rough and slow, but they were steps into the future. Without them, today's apps, streaming services, and social media might never have existed. Pop culture also left deep footprints. Music, movies, and TV shows from the 90s continue to influence artists, designers, and creators. Grunge, hip-hop, pop, and boy bands still echo in today's playlists. Sitcoms and blockbuster films are remade, referenced, and celebrated. Even fashion cycles back. Baggy jeans, neon accents, and platform shoes reappear, reminding us of a style that was bold and fun. The 90s taught people that culture could be playful, personal, and shared across communities. The decade also changed society in quiet ways. Teenagers learned how to belong to groups while still being individuals. Malls, arcades, and roller rinks taught social skills, independence, and creativity. The internet later expanded these lessons, showing that people could connect with others beyond their neighborhoods and schools. The 90s blended the old and new, creating a bridge between childhood simplicity and adult complexity. People carried these lessons forward, shaping how communities and friendships work today. Nostalgia shows how much the decade still matters. People remember the clink of coins in a payphone, the click of a cassette tape, and the glow of neon fashion. Retro music, vintage games, and old TV shows come back into style, not just for fun, but because they remind people of a time full of hope, possibility, and wonder. The things we once forgot have become treasures again, connecting generations and inspiring new creativity. The 1990s also shaped the way we think about change. Every new technology brought excitement and fear. Dial-up modems, instant messaging, and early social websites hinted at a world moving faster than anyone could fully control. The anticipation of Y2K showed that people were aware of how much life depended on technology, and yet they approached it with a mixture of fear, hope, and curiosity. That balance between excitement and caution still guides how society responds to new inventions today. Looking at the 1990s as a whole, it is clear the decade was a turning point. It was a bridge between a mostly analog past and a digital future. It mixed bright colors and sounds, personal experiences and global connections, curiosity and creativity. Every trend, gadget, and cultural moment taught lessons about how to live in a changing world. People learned to adapt, to connect, and to celebrate life even as the pace of change increased. The 1990s may be gone, but their influence surrounds us. Screens glow in our homes, headphones carry music into our ears, and the internet keeps us connected every day. Pop culture still borrows from the past, reminding us of the decade's energy and optimism. The world we live in now is faster, more connected, and more colorful because of the lessons, discoveries, and experiments of that unforgettable time. The 1990s were more than nostalgia. They were a foundation, a proving ground, and a playground for creativity and change. The songs, clothes, games, and technology taught a generation to dream bigger, act bolder, and connect farther. And even today, when we see a neon light flicker, hear the soft whir of a tape, or scroll through a playlist inspired by the past, we are reminded that the 1990s did more than shape culture. They shaped the way we live, think, and imagine the future. The story of the 1990s is not only about what happened then, but also about how it still lives with us today. Every app on a phone, every meme shared online, every binge-watched series has roots that stretch back to that decade. When kids first typed into chat rooms, they were unknowingly building the social media world we now live in. When friends lined up at theaters to watch Titanic or Jurassic Park, they were experiencing the kind of shared global events that streaming now tries to capture. When teenagers carried Walkmans or early MP3 players, they were showing the world how personal and mobile music could become. The power of the 90s was in its ability to spark change while still keeping joy close at hand. It was a decade of play, of discovery and of daring to dream. People did not know how quickly things would accelerate, how small experiments would grow into massive industries, or how little moments would become lifelong memories. Yet every detail mattered: the sound of a modem connecting, the flip of a cassette, the laughter of a sitcom audience. To remember the 1990s is to see where we came from, and to understand why we live the way we do today.